It's day 2 of the lockdown in South Africa. Yesterday we reported on the importance of social distancing, and a lot of people, in fact the police that we got to speak to yesterday, spoke about being understaffed and being stretched to the limit. Today it seems that they are pressing the issue at home for people to stay home. As I look to my right hand side, we are in Dobsonville in Soweto, and you can see the SA police services are conducting roadblocks. Many a car here has been turned. You can see there people are being asked to show documents on why they're on the streets. In fact, a short while ago, a colleague of ours at SABC News was stopped right there, and he too had to produce documents on why he was in the streets. The police seem to be taking this fairly seriously with regards to people loitering, basically not knowing where they're going to, and most importantly, keeping people at home, which is what has been called for by the president. And those who, well, had crossed hairs with the officials or the police in any sense, they end up there. There's a couple of gentlemen and ladies who've been locked up there, and when I asked the police, although they can't officially comment, some of them had no idea why they were loitering on the streets. Now, the other issue that we've been speaking of is the disparity between those who have and those who have not. A couple of weeks ago, just before the president announced the lockdown of the country, we saw people with means in more affluent neighborhoods being able to go out and do their early groceries mid-month, while on day 1 we picked up that a lot of people were saying that they had only just got paid, and that's why they were in the streets. Look, the question I'd like to ask you, you're on the street, the police have just stopped you. The question is, what are you doing on the streets because of the lockdown?
Izolo bengisebenza, so azange khona ukuthola izinto engizidingayo khona ngiyama-shop manje ngiyothenga.
No favors, basically. They're stopping each and every person down here. If you have a valid reason why you're out in the streets, they let you go. If not, well, you're told to turn around and go back home. For now, let's try and chat to the police. There's a superintendent or somebody in Unsina here who might give us a bit of a brief on what exactly has been going on and what they've picked up in the past couple of hours since this roadblock occurred. Brigadier, today we see you and SAPS out in numbers enforcing what has been called on by the president. The lockdown is in effect, and we're seeing you guys hard at work.
Yeah, definitely. We've been up this morning, to ensure that people comply with the law, comply with the Disaster Management Act, as promulgated by our government. So we're trying to enforce, all the laws in terms of the act. And also we have given, tried to give advice people to comply to ensure that, they, in terms of trying to decrease or to minimize the spread of the disease, they also comply with the minimum standards, like social distancing, washing their hands. So we're also trying to give advice, but also people that are loitering without any reason, walking around aimlessly. Also, we're dealing with those people. We have made a few arrests since this morning, people that are actually not compliant with the act. So we're trying to do everything to ensure that, we comply with the order by the president.
Most importantly, Brigadier, what you've seen as well, you mentioned you made some arrests. We've seen it's not only people who are loitering, but your officers have picked up people carrying drugs, your nyaupes, and they're in this bag. So this, in a way, is helping you root out all the bad scourge of the country.
Yeah, definitely. I think, since there's been a lockdown, we expect that people will be confined to their places. There are those that still take chances, So we have made a few arrests, we have closed down a few shippings. So we're trying to do everything in terms of the law to ensure that there is compliance.
Yeah. Most importantly as well, this in the long run hopefully would get people to adhere to bylaws, is what is enforced today, hopefully.
I think that's the whole idea, that at the end people comply with the laws, people abide by the rules. I think that's what we want to see. That's why we're here.
Brigadier, you mentioned something also about social distancing as well. Unfortunately, it is what it is. People are still coming out in their numbers, and unfortunately here in places like Soweto, Dobsonville, people are buying food to feed their families, and there's only so much you can do.
Definitely, we can do so much in terms of advising people. Remember, with regard when it comes to hygiene and compliance with the minimum standards, we can only give advice. We can only give advice. So that's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
Brigadier Sipho Ngubane, thank you very much for speaking to us.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
The stark difference of the haves and the have-nots is pretty evident by this queue It's a bumpy ride for them with regards to the 21-day shutdown. But as we've been hearing from every single one of them who we spoke to off camera, there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. Theirs is to come out here, stand out in the queues, and hopefully get to buy some bread, which is an essential need, buy some milli meal. The bare necessities, cooking oil is what some of them are saying that they need in their households. And if you can see on my left-hand side, Thabo pan left to them, the line just goes on and on and on. And all of them, as I said, a bumpy ride ahead. They might get into the store, but the question is, will there be supplies that they're looking for still available, as we've been seeing thousands of them in this queue. And for other residents who were able to beat the lockdown and the long queues, it is other government essentials that they are appreciating.
Oh, absolutely, yes. Without it, I mean, where would we be? What would we be doing right now if it wasn't for essential services? No, absolutely. Actually, I think it's brilliant. The service was excellent. It only took an hour for them to get here, start working immediately, and now they're seeing to it. So it's really good.
With the first death due to the coronavirus already reported in South Africa, the question was whether people would come out on day 2 of the lockdown, avoiding social distancing or continuing to basically ignore it.